Nick Wright, first things first, co-host of Fox Sports 1. My day is always better when I talk to Nick. I saw his tweet this morning that I am just astounded by how many of my colleagues love the Bills this week. Love them in big letters. Ready to anoint Josh Allen. Ready to throw dirt on Mahomes. The whole thing we'll discuss. Plus, is this Tom Brady's last game? Will the Niners beat Rodgers again? Wow. How did your tweet sound with a professional reading it?
I got it. You're being self-congratulatory and patronizing per usual, but it sounded great. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm like, that's why he's Dan Patrick and I'm me. Like that really, can you record my outgoing voicemail for me?
I would.
That really was great. That was outstanding. Sounded great. Do you agree with me though, Dan? A little. The Josh. How long has Josh Allen been better than Patrick Mahomes? And I mean, it's just the hype for this guy who 12 days ago almost lost to the Jets, 19 days ago literally had the worst game of his entire career. Meanwhile, Mahomes has never lost a home playoff game in regulation, has never been bad in a home playoff game. It seems like a little, askew, feels a little bit like if mid-conference second round of the NBA playoffs last year, if people were like, you know what? I think Trae Young's the best player in the NBA. Like, slow down a bit for me, please.
Your voice is up at a pretty high level. Like that's a new octave. Like that's a Mariah Carey octave that I'm not used to hearing out of you.
Okay, so this segment starts off with me complimenting your voice and you just, for the first time in our relationship, taking a shot at mine. Yeah, Dan, I'm a little high-strung this weekend, my friend. I'm not going to lie to you. We got a lot on the line for your, television viewers. I'm literally wearing Chiefs red sweatpants. I'm ready to go. I'm excited for this football game and for this nonsense. These Bills Mafia charlatans that have been polluting my Twitter mentions for the better part of 2 years to put them down in the dirt. That's what I'm ready for.
Okay, I'm with you. I have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl facing the Packers. I'm all in with you. That was my prediction at the beginning of the year. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think we're drunk with love with the Bills, with the perfect game they played against the Patriots. So I'm with you on that. And I do think that Josh Allen, the highs that he gives you, we sometimes forget the lows that he has as well. And
his highs rival, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
His highs rival Mahomes and Rodgers.
Yes.
For the highest highs of the league in the league.
Yeah.
The difference is his lows rival Zach Wilson's. And he hasn't gotten that out of his game yet. Meanwhile, Rodgers and Mahomes almost never have awful games. They might have awful games by their own standards, but their level of consistency is what separates them. But here's the other thing that just surprises me, Dan. That if we are just looking at this soberly, and could the Bills win? Of course. This is not better than a bye like the Steelers game was. Maybe my most iconic phrase. It's entered the sports canon now. So the Bills could win. Josh Allen could run for a bunch of yards. Maybe the Chiefs can't cover Stephon Diggs. But one team is at home. That team also has more dynamic playmakers, the better coach, and the better quarterback. The four biggest check marks are all on that side of the ledger. And I know folks will say, the Bills' defense is better. Maybe. But the Bills' defense also is coming off a stretch of 10 games against 9 awful quarterbacks and Brady. And Brady beat them. So I think the Bills' defense might be a touch overrated. The Chiefs not being 3-point favorites at home, Dan, is the most insulting thing that's happened to the city of Kansas City since you guys did your stupid barbecue tour and that doofus was like, Texas barbecue's better. Remember that? That carried your show for 6 weeks. You're welcome for that one, pal.
So I'm with you on the Chiefs. I like the Rams against the Buccaneers.
Yep, me too.
I don't rule out the Niners doing something crazy like, keeping it close enough to win the game. I just get nervous of if it comes down to Jimmy G leading a drive, Deebo Samuel better be getting the ball on, 80% of those carries there. And the Bengals against the Titans, as much as I love Cincinnati, my hometown team, I think the Titans are better than what we're giving them credit for being at home.
All right, so I don't know if this is good or bad for the audience. We are mirrored picks across the board. I agree with everything you just said. I think that there is a part of me, to go in order, there is some trepidation of picking Matt Stafford on the road against Brady. With somebody, Jenna Wolf said this on our show today. I should have known this. I couldn't, but it's an astounding number. Tom Brady is 14-2 in this round of the playoffs. That, I think, it might be as impressive as 7 Super Bowls. He's 14-2 in the divisional round. So there's part of me that feels like, you're going to feel dumb picking Stafford to go on the road and win. But they're so banged up. And I don't think the Bucs have any way to guard Kupp without doubling him. And then Odell can go off. We agree on the Titans. I think the Bengals obviously are fun. The Titans are rested. They're healthier. They're well coached. They've been here before. They're at home. I think pick them. I really want to drill in on Packers Niners, because the Niners have a lot of obvious edges, and then the one super obvious edges, but the other team has the league MVP at quarterback, and you have a guy that you just can't trust. Can't even trust, forget to throw passes in the fourth quarter. Can't even trust to wait for Trent Williams to get set before you do a quarterback sneak. Sidebar of the sidebar. How mad is Mike McCarthy at Jimmy Garoppolo for false starting there? If he just doesn't false start, we're not killing McCarthy for the quarterback sneak. It's like, buddy, I'm dying because of your mistake. Just wait for Trent Williams to get set. The game's over. None of this nonsense happens. But here's my question to you, Dan. Right now, obviously Brady's greatest quarterback ever. I think if Rodgers wins the Super Bowl this year, Rodgers versus Peyton Manning becomes a really interesting conversation. If Rodgers loses this game at home, that feels like, okay, he's a tier below.
Yeah.
Is that unfair? Is that ridiculous? I don't think it's unfair.
No, I think it's because he started out great in the postseason, and then he's been average ever since then. You go to one Super Bowl, and that was 10 years ago, and you win that. While I'll say, and I've said it many times, he makes the position look as effortless as any quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Maybe more so than any other quarterback. You gotta have another one here. And I think that having that second, I mean, look at Eli. Having 2, you're in the Hall of Fame. If Stafford gets 1, he's in the Hall of Fame, probably. Rodgers getting a second, if it matters to him, which is tricky, then he elevates himself above Breeze. Peyton, I think he's a better quarterback than Peyton. I think Peyton's had more of an impact on the game, but I would put Rodgers there. If you want to throw in John Elway and whoever else into that mix, I understand it. But if you don't get to 2, then you're down on the list.
Like, listen, it's unfathomable, the idea that Mahomes never gets to another Super Bowl. But even if he doesn't, he's been to more than Rodgers, right? Yeah. That's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? And so I think Rodgers already ahead of Breeze. But I also think it should be noted, Rodgers' first 5 playoff games, he's 4-1, and the one loss, they scored 45 points and lost in overtime. It was his first playoff game ever. That was the one where he actually got strip sacked in the first play of overtime, and Arizona scored. Since then, Dan, he's 7-8. And now, are all those losses on him? No. The NFC Championship game against the Falcons, for example, a few years ago. Falcons, I think, scored 28 straight to start the game. But let's go to the Seattle game for a second. Everyone kills McCarthy, and they should. They blew it down the stretch. With that said, Rodgers was 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and had a 55 passer rating in that game. Like, they had opportunities to make it to where an unblowable lead. I would argue the 15-1 season coming off the Super Bowl. Losing that home playoff game to Eli and the Giants, that one, it didn't sting as much then because you're like, oh, he'll be back. But he hasn't been back. You can't, and now you're at home again. You're the healthier team. You're the more rested team. I don't know if they have to win the Super Bowl, but they have to win this game. And I don't know if they will.
Who presents the biggest roadblock for Green Bay, in your opinion?
Well, I think this team. I think the Niners.
Oh,
I think the Niners do.
More than the Rams or the Buccaneers?
Oh, yeah, I think the Bucs are too beat up. They have played too many games. The Rams are an interesting one. However, there is a part of me that says Matt Stafford going into Green Bay, if there's a mental part of sports at all, that place has been a house of horrors for him his whole career. And then he's on the precipice of the Super Bowl. And that's like, to me that I think the cold weather hurts them. I think this is the game the Packers did not want. Was this team with this running game and this coach coming into their building.
He's Nick Wright. You can see him on First Things First, Monday through Friday on Fox Sports 1. Haven't talked to you since the Lakers fallout.
Yeah.
How does this end?
Oh, I don't know, Dan. Probably with LeBron winning the scoring title, that's what I'll focus on. Guy, year 19, win the scoring title. Seems pretty good. Guy's not a scorer. It's not great, Dan. Here's what I find interesting. A lot of people deserve a lot of blame here. Rob Pelinka deserves blame. Everyone's like, oh, but LeBron made them make the trade. LeBron couldn't even get them to hire Ty Lue. So LeBron has some juice, but he's not literally calling in the trades. Pelinka deserves some blame. Obviously, Vogel deserves some blame. Russ deserves some blame. There's a lot of blame to go around. It would be nice if Anthony Davis were healthy. But it is astounding to me how many people are caping for Frank Vogel this week. Oh, my God, this is so unfair. It is? It's unfair? You can't treat a champion coach. You can't? I would just like for the people saying it's ridiculous for Vogel to be on the hot seat. Can you tell me your favorite Frank Vogel coaching moment? What's your favorite Frank Vogel adjustment? Did you love that it took him a dozen games to figure out that Russ and Rondo can't be on the court at the same time? Did you love when 9 months after the brilliant tactician Steve Nash realized DeAndre Jordan is cooked, he was still starting games for your team? I do not put this all on Vogel, but there have been better coaches fired for far less malfeasance. And I find it very peculiar. It's an odd Venn diagram of people in the media who have been the loudest and most articulate LeBron James critics and people in the media who are all of a sudden giant Frank Vogel fans. They're like, oh, my God, do you remember him with Hibbert? Look at those defensive approaches. Shut up. Stop it.
I just thought that if you're going to fire him. That's all. Somebody leaked that information to The Athletic, and now everybody's waiting. And then I just wondered if he was getting on the plane to go on the road trip, and then found out that he was. But it just feels like, it's inevitable that's going to happen. That's the only part of this that's not fair. If he's your guy, then let him coach. If not, then fire him.
I agree with that. With that said, they just played the Pacers, his previous team, and now tonight they're in Orlando. Maybe they're like, hey, he's probably got friends there, maybe some family.
A reunion tour?
Yeah, let him take the trip.
That is nice.
Yeah, I think that is nice. There is the line in that game, by the way, is the Lakers minus just 5 and assume LeBron's going to play. That tells me there are people in Vegas that think that the Lakers players might be trying to get him fired. Because as bad as the Lakers have been, Orlando is a travesty of a team. And for the Lakers to only be 5-point favorites, I think there's some concern from the bookmakers that the Lakers might try to expedite this firing process.
Does Frank Vogel accompany the team back to Los Angeles from this road trip?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes. I think he does. I think Frank Vogel survives. I think he does just enough to survive until Anthony Davis comes back. And then there's, a little resurgence. Again, I don't know if I said this earlier, but LeBron James is going to win the scoring title. He's in year 19, Dan.
Yeah.
That's got to count for something. Lead the league in 30-point games. Is he not a scorer, though, of course? And so
No. He's a scorer. He's just not a shooter.
Right, Dan. Higher career, 3-point percentage than Kobe and Michael, but that's fine. No, that's right. Not a shooter.
I'm on your side with LeBron.
Oh, I know, Dan, but it's not just you and I talking. There's people listening. I'm talking to them.
But I'm on your side. You sometimes go over the side.
Go overboard. You're saying I go overboard. Do you think there were? I don't know if there were physics.
There's that voice
shows.
Going up again. There's that octave.
I don't know, Dan, if there were physics talk shows in the 1900s. But do you think people were like, listen, I'm an Einstein guy too, but you go a little too far? No, you can't go too far.
Well, yeah, you can. You can.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. You can go.
Okay, you son of a. That is bullying. You're bullying me.
I'm bullying you. Well, I'm sorry that I didn't know that I didn't mean to.
You know what? You know what this is called? This is punching down. You're a broadcast Hall of Famer with millions of dollars and millions of listeners and viewers. I'm just an up-and-coming guy.
This is how I got here.
Yeah, by bullying those.
Did
you know?
By punching down.
By punching down. True story, Dan. And then you can hang up on me if you want.
Okay, all right.
I'm a senior in high school going on a tour of Syracuse University and happened to, set up a meeting with the dean of Newhouse. He'll remain nameless, Dean Rubin. I'll never forget it. And he talks with me and my mother. Says, I've seen your record. I've seen this. I'd be shocked if you're not admitted. Love to have you, but you want to do radio, right? I'm like, yeah, that's all I've ever wanted to do is radio. He's like, well, I'm sorry to tell you, it'll never work. Your voice is awful for radio. I was like, oh, thanks, Dean. Take that, Dean. But now Dan Patrick's co-signing it. So maybe he was right all along.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was. You know what? You're such a jerk.
I'm sorry. I sometimes I don't know I'm speaking.
You ever thought maybe I'm a little self-conscious about this? You ever thought maybe I'm like, maybe the reason that even to this day I smoke $1 Black & Mild cigars by the pack is because I'm like, one day I'll get the grizzled broadcaster voice. I am literally killing myself so I can sound like you. I complimented you in the beginning, and now you're all making me McLovin. Not your old McLovin. I'm talking about from the actual movie, the original McLovin with the voice. It's not fair. It's not fair, and it's me. I want an apology before I come on again.
I would say brown liquor.
I did that too.
You tried it. Yeah. More of it.
More of it. Look at him. Look at this guy. He'll never be as good as me. It's fun as always. What a jerk.
I'll apologize the next time before you come on.
Fritz, lose my number.
Yeah.
Wow.
But in the meantime, I just want to say good luck to Patrick Mahomes this week. Do you want to hear Fritzy's Patrick Mahomes impersonation?
I don't want to hear from anyone involved with the show ever again.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Thank you, Nick.
Goodbye.
All right. That's Nick Wright. He does a great job at Fox Sports 1. He does. All right. We'll take a break. We're back after this.